Look at this one, sitting on Mommy's project bags. Is that your new home? Yeah? I thought that I would do a quick little vlog. I don't know how quick it's gonna go, but we shall see. But a vlog of sorts on my peacock quilt, because if you recall on one of my regular episodes, I mentioned that I shared that I started a new quilt top, using some really beautiful peacock fabric, and I'm actually making the Winter Star quilt by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it's a really beautiful pattern. And you know, even though it's a winter-esque theme according to the pattern, I thought that the peacock prints in this layer cake that I purchased would just really lend beautifully to the overall look of the quilt. As I mentioned, I finished making two of 3 blocks that are required to make this really beautiful, gorgeous motif. I have the 4 patch, which is right here. I made a nice little pile, so I have all my 4 patches whipped up. They're ready to go, so those are off to the side waiting. And then I also made the center blocks, so I have a nice little pile of these. However, I was laying these squares out, and I realized, looking at them from a bird's eye view, I looked down at my cutting table and noticed a little something off. I don't know if you can tell. I'll pop some B-roll here, but yeah, these 2 squares, these 2 blocks are not the same size. No, my friends. They are indeed 2 different size blocks. This one here, the 4 patch, is a 4.5-inch square, while the center square is a 5-inch square. And it turns out I threw a wrench in my own wheel and wasn't following the directions. Nothing wrong with the pattern. Jenny of Missouri Star Quilt Company mentioned in her video tutorial, she mentioned that this should be a 4.5-inch square, but somehow that information went right over my head. Maybe because it was just a small mention, and she does tell you to follow the directions in said pattern. Now when it comes to me and patterns, for some reason, I'm more of a visual learner. When I see just blocks of text in front of me, my eyes go all cross-eyed.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
So, I don't know about you, but I just find it a lot easier for me to learn visually, watch videos. And just to confirm my suspicion that these blocks were not the same size, I took my handy-dandy 4.5-inch square template, laid it on top of the 4 patch, boom, 4.5 inches, laid it on top of the center patch, 5 inches. We had 1/4 of an inch of fabric is spilling over the edges of the template. So yeah, I messed up. So I'm now faced with a bit of a conundrum, and I don't know if you guys can help me. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. But if I were to go ahead with this block, I would just have to cut it down to size. However, I'd be cutting off these points right here, and I feel like that, I mean, it is gonna be, if the quilt police come to my house and look at the finished quilt and see that these points are cut off, because, you know, the seams are 1/4 of an inch, so each corner is going to be cut off like that all throughout the quilt. I think, in hindsight, while I know it's a mistake, I'm wondering if it really doesn't matter, if it's just, you know, whatever, let it be, Kristen, let it have some mistakes in the quilt. Or should I panic order another layer cake so I can redo the center squares? I mean, these weren't terribly difficult to make. These were just kind of like, I popped on an audio podcast and, you know, just had at it, and they were done within, you know, a couple of hours. Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, I'm gonna tackle the 3rd block, which are the star points. And the reason why I let these wait till I was done with the other blocks is because it's the most difficult, or it looks like it's the most difficult. But Jenny, in her tutorial, reassures everyone that it's easy. It's a piece of cake.
They look a little daunting, but don't you worry.
And I'm feeling pretty confident myself. I know I can probably execute this without a hitch, but if you are new to quilting and want to see how I tackle a new to me technique, you are in the right place, because that's what we're going to do today. You can see how I kind of, you know, navigate the waters of the unknown, if you will. However, this time I'm going to be measuring twice, measuring 3 times, maybe 4 times in my case, because I tend to graze over details. I'm going to re-watch the tutorial and make sure I have all the correct measurements that I need to cut out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we should have some smooth sailing seas here. But anyway, all right, my friends, let's let's get started. I rewatched the tutorial and wrote down all the measurements, all the correct measurements that I have to cut out. So in my case, I'm gonna measure twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then cut my fabric once. Fingers crossed, hopefully, because I have my little crib notes here. So first up, we gotta cut out some rectangles. Let me get this right, 2.5 inches by 5-inch rectangles for our star legs. So this ruler right here is exactly 2.5 inches, so I can just, let's see, start cutting all the way down here. And then, this ruler's great, by the way, because if you have scrap fabric, you can just, let me see, cut out a bunch of rectangles, and you've got yourself some nice log cabin scraps, if that makes any sense. Got that. Okay, we have our squares. All right, now, because these are 10-inch squares, it was a 10-inch square, now it's a 10-inch rectangle. I just have to cut these down to 5 inches, so I'm just gonna stack these on top like so. Okay, that's about right. Line that, okay. Take my ruler, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line it up here. Measure again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're gold. Okay, just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. Good. Let me cut this down the center. Ta-da! All right, we've got our rectangles. Next, we have to cut our center blocks. So according to the pattern and according to Jenny, we need 4.5-inch squares out of this, and it doesn't easily work out because this is a 10-inch square, and if you were to just cut this down the center one way and down the center the other way, this square would just yield 4 5-inch squares. So what I'm gonna do a little cheat right here. I'm just gonna fold this in half one way, and I'm just improvising here, guys. I'm gonna fold it in the other way, trying to be as even as possible, like so. And then I'm actually going to get a tool, get my handy dandy rotating cutting mat. This thing is awesome. I got this for English paper piecing because, you know, English paper piecing, the bits are so small, and this small little round Lazy Susan type cutting mat just makes cutting fabric from all different angles so much easier. But we're gonna use it for this now. So I'm gonna lay this folded square right here, grab my 4.5-inch template and just lay it on top like so. And try to get that even. Just take my rotary cutter and just go down the side like this and rotate it. Rotate it. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Boom. That was easy. So now we have our rectangles. These are gonna go like so and create this kind of star leg over here. But I also have to cut out 2.5-inch squares that are going to be sewn over here. Seems all tricky, but I think I can do it, guys. All right, I'm gonna cut out my smaller squares using the same 2.5-inch ruler. If you hear my cat, I think she's getting a little hungry. It's almost dinner time. Almost, not quite. Just gonna keep going down. There we go. All right, so now we have our strips. Just gonna lay them on top of each other because I'm gonna cut these out again in one fell swoop. 1, 2. It really helps to have these exact rulers because it just, for someone like me who's terrible at following written instructions, it just makes it entirely Kristen proof in my opinion. Some people are just really great at having a great attention to detail for some reason. In some respects, I do. In some respects, I am very good. I do have a good attention for detail, but in other respects, I can be lacking. But anyway, all right, we have our pieces. We have our little squares, we have our center square, and we have our rectangles. So I'm gonna take this over to the machine and get some sewing done. But first, Jenny does instruct you to fold your center square in half like so. Just to kind of give you like a little guideline, just finger press it. And then basically what we're gonna do now is take our rectangle and lay it over. So this point right here, just goes over the line, over the fold line, and you want to pivot the other angle so it just hits that other corner right there. And then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch stitch line right over here. I'm just going to take my sewing machine foot and just butt it up against this line right here and follow it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon here, guys, and the sun is really bright, so I had to lower my shades. Hopefully you're not getting too much reflection off my blinds. But yeah, so here we go. We have our center square. I did fold it in half like so, just to create a little guide, if you will. Just, you know, a finger press right here, and yeah, there's like a little line right there. So we're going to take our main fabric, the background fabric, face down, and she says to having this tip right here just going right over the line, and then having this one at the bottom, bringing it, or just pivoting it, if you will, so it aligns with this corner right here. And now I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch along this edge. All right, here goes nothing. I'm gonna raise my needle a little bit. There we go. So notice that I'm butting the edge of this fabric up with the edge of my foot right here, and I'm just gonna follow along. So lowering my needle, do a back tack. There we go. We've got one edge done. Now we just have to do another one. So I'm going to take another one. Well, first I'm going to press this open over with my iron and then add another one of these. So let me go do that. Okay, so I've pressed that out. Now I'm going to take another rectangle and lie that flat this way, and she said to do the same thing. So again, if I can kind of eyeball it, I think eyeballing is the key word here, or snowball as the pattern suggests. Yeah, you just kind of have to eyeball it, like as if you can imagine that line right there, just have that edge just over there, and then again pivot this other edge so it just meets this corner right here. So I'm gonna cheat that a little bit. So it's like so. Okay. Yeah, she says it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'll take her word on that. But I don't want to deviate too far. Oh, wait, no, I'm making a mistake, guys. This is why it's not adding up. It's not this edge, it's this edge. This has to be, okay, all right, see, I caught myself there. So this edge right here is gonna overlap with this point right here. Okay, just over that fold line. Again, still eyeballing it, but you get the idea. And then, perfect. All right, now it's lining up. Now that makes sense. So I'm just gonna rotate that. How many of these do I have to make again? Oh goodness. All right, lowering my foot, making sure that this edge is aligned. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a little itty bitty triangle right there poking out from this edge right there. So I'm going to assume that the straight fold is going that way. And anyway, that's what Jenny says, so that's what I'm gonna do. All right, we're gonna go. All right, following this edge. Murphy's Law. All right, now that I have my star point formed, I am ready to, or almost ready, to add the other squares, these little guys. But before I can sew these guys on, I need to true up my pattern, basically just cutting off all these excess edges right here so I can have a 4.5-inch square again. So let me go back over to my cutting mat, cut off these edges, and then we can get back to sewing these little guys on. Okie dokes, I've trued up my pattern using the middle square as my template, as the pattern says to do. I can either fold these in half and follow the fold line, or because I don't trust myself to follow fold lines, I'm just gonna draw myself a guide, as you do. Just taking a pencil and drawing that there. All right, so I'm just gonna lay that on top of there. And then, out like that. Look how cool. Oh, guys, that is gonna be so pretty. Okay, let's do the other one. Actually, I'm gonna cut this and then press it open. And I know she says that you can actually leave some of this fabric if you don't wanna cut it, but I think it's too much bulk. She says it's not gonna create too much bulk, but I think it's too much bulk. Yeah, that's better. All right, I'm gonna go press this open. I love this. I'm so in love. This kind of looks, you know what it reminds me of? It's very Art Deco. Definitely very Art Deco vibes, which I'm in love with. All right, gonna take this over to my iron, give it a press, and make some more. I have 3 more to make. Look how pretty that looks. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm so stoked about this pattern. I didn't sew these all together yet. They're just kind of like laying next to each other, just to get an idea of how everything's gonna look. But my gosh, I'm so excited. But I just want to remind you guys, like, once I sew all these together, if I go with these squares, these little points are gonna get cut off. So it's not gonna be like a perfect square in the center. They're gonna kind of overlap like so, if you can imagine. Just giving you an idea. And you know, maybe it's not a big deal, but because this is a star, I don't know if it would be that big of a deal. I'm still torn. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, of course that would mean I would have to make more of these, but you know, it's not the end of the world. And there you have it. We have our third block. I didn't finish all of them. I still have plenty more to do, but I nailed it, guys. And yeah, I'm now even more confident in myself that I can pull these off. Yeah, seriously. It was a walk in the park, piece of cake. I have no complaints about this. I didn't want to tear my hair out. I didn't want to throw anything across the room. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I'm still left with the conundrum of, you know, do I redo the center squares? I'm still very torn. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. This wasn't supposed to be a tutorial or anything. This was just this was more of just follow Kristen as she navigates the choppy waters of new quilting techniques. and I live to tell the tale. So anyway, I hope you were entertained. I hope you learned something maybe, or felt inspired to tackle a quilting project, or you know, feel less intimidated by it. It's all very doable. I mean, look how this looks super complex, am I right? But at the end of the day, it's just take one step at a time, and it's all good. All right, my friends, I've got to go, but thank you so much as always for hanging out with me, and until the next video, have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.